Welcome back to U.S. History. We are beginning World War II. So far, we've mentioned the war started on September 1st, 1939. Really, we can only say that that date is so worth noting simply because that's when the Allies finally responded to the German invasions that were going on. So let's talk about more German victories. Denmark and Norway. In spring 1940, Germany's blitzkrieg again revealed itself dominant. Denmark, which had declared neutrality, was invaded and overcome within hours. Norway, which had also declared neutrality, was invaded. Fierce fighting lasted 62 days before the Norwegians were betrayed. The man pictured up there on your screen next to Hitler is a guy by the name of Winston Churchill. He was a Norwegian politician who assisted German agents who disabled land-based guns as German destroyers sailed into Norwegian harbors. Had the guns been used, of course, they would have sunk the German Navy completely, but they were disabled, allowing the Germans to sail right in to Norway. Quisling has become one of a handful of people whose names is synonymous with the word traitor. You think of Benedict Arnold, Judas Iscariot, and now Vidkun Quisling. By taking over Denmark and Norway, Germany had secured its northern border. Number 2, the fall of France. By May 1940, Hitler was ready to attack westward. Against overwhelming forces, the Low Countries were defeated quickly. Luxembourg fell in 2 days. Holland lasted 5. Belgium surrendered in 18 days. Although France had been reinforced by British troops, they found themselves outmaneuvered and outstrategized. The Blitzkrieg planes continued to bomb French targets before the German tanks and troops arrived. These new weapons and tactics were a total departure from the trench warfare of World War I. German forces surrounded the Allies at the port city of Dunkirk. Before the Germans could annihilate the trapped Allies, however, a dense fog moved in. Hitler ordered the aircraft to finish them off, but they were grounded due to the weather. Failed communication kept the German army grounded, and over the course of 9 days, fishing boats, yachts, and almost anything else that could float were used by British citizens to cross the English Channel and deliver some 338,000 men to safety. We call this a miracle because if it weren't for an act of God, that 338,000 men could have been wiped out, not to be able to be used later on in the war. With the army in Britain and the French government making a run for it, France accepted the inevitable and surrendered in June. The fighting in France had only been a month and a half. Germany had tried to defeat France in World War I, but had never quite accomplished it. And now, in just a month and a half, France had surrendered. The armistice was signed in the same railroad car that had signed the end of World War I. This time, however, Germany was the victor over France, and they had gotten their revenge. Number 3, Britain alone. The fall of France stunned the world and left Britain on the brink of destruction, who now faced the Nazi menace alone. At this dark hour, one of England's greatest leaders came to power. Winston Churchill became prime minister, and after Dunkirk, Churchill said in a radio message, "Arm yourselves and be ye men of valor, and be in readiness for the conflict, for it is better for us to perish in battle than to look upon the outrage of our nation." He urged Britons with his grand defiance and fighting spirit. He said, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. You ask, What is our policy? I will say it is to wage war by sea, land, and air with all of our might and with all the strength God can give us. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word. It is victory. The resulting conflict between Britain and Germany is known as the Battle of Britain. In late summer and into fall, the Battle of Britain began. It was an aerial conflict between Germany's Luftwaffe and Britain's Royal Air Force. Luftwaffe, in case you don't know, that means Air Force, and Britain's Royal Air Force. The fighting took to the skies. Germany bombed military sites, hoping to soften Britain up for a land invasion. In response to the threatened Channel invasion, Churchill is known to have said, "We are waiting for this long-promised invasion. So are the fishes." But the bombing raids became too expensive for the Luftwaffe. The Germans lost 3 times as many planes as the British. Surviving German pilots were imprisoned, while surviving British pilots were able to fight another day. The Luftwaffe then began night raids on the major cities. During those fearful days when the fate of the nation hung in the skies above them, the British were fortified and inspired by the words of Churchill once again, who declared, "Hitler knows that he will have to break us on this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour." In the end, the RAF was able to hold off the Luftwaffe. Germany lost 1,733 aircraft, while Britain lost about 915. In August 1940, Churchill declared, referring to the RAF, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." So in short, Battle of Britain, the British are able to win. Number 4, Operation Barbarossa. Considering the invasion of Britain to be a minor setback, Hitler again took the initiative, this time invading its former partner, the Soviet Union. So the Operation Barbarossa was Germany's operation to invade Russia. Another German word, the Wehrmacht. This was the name for Germany's armed forces. So the Luftwaffe is the Air Force. The Wehrmacht, that's the armed forces, the troops. The troops primarily. And about 3 million strong in Germany's Wehrmacht was about to invade the Soviet Union. It took the Soviet Union by surprise, covering 500 miles of territory within 2 months from the Arctic Ocean to the Black Sea. Hitler's goal was to capture 3 Soviet cities, Leningrad to the north, Moscow in the middle, and Stalingrad to the south. Hitler ordered that there be no mercy placed on the communists and that they should be wiped out. Some of the fiercest fighting in Europe took place in Russia. By September 1941, Russia was reeling and Britain was battered. Hitler's 2-year conquest had made him the master of Europe. If you look in your books at page 498, it shows you a map of Europe during this war. You can see the territories that are now under Axis controls. You can see those that are still Allied territories. And then, of course, you can see the countries that remain neutral during the war. That is all that we are going to cover for today. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. Be good, do good.